Okay, you should be able to start.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order, and then we're going to be discussing the gas tax decision, and I'm turning it over to John right now.
Thank you. Before we begin, I want to be clear about the purpose of tonight's discussion. This is a work session and it is intended to be informational and exploratory only. No decisions are being made and no direction is being given, though it is my desire and intent at the end to recap what I'm understanding with the intent to bring a memo similar to the way that we did with the retreat that would come back with our intended understanding of the way forward for council approval. I also want to acknowledge the importance of, I think you guys have all heard me speak probably ad nauseum in regards to our PACE-E plan and the fact that we are developing within that several different other items. And this, of course, has a direct effect with that. But I think it's actually a very strategically opportunistic moment in time for us to include this within the concept of that plan as well. And we'll talk about that more as we go forward. So with all that context in mind, I'll turn it over to Kyle to walk us through background information so we're all working from the same understanding.
Perfect. All right, so some of you have been here from the beginning, but you know John hasn't. So I did write a memo, which was kind of based upon the memo we did at our last gas tax work session in 24. But as a quick overview, just so you know, John and anybody watching kind of gets a brief overview of how we got to here. It all started when the council had requested from the Parking Traffic Safety Commission different ideas for revenue source generation. And one of their main recommendations was a local gas tax. We took a stab at going after a local gas tax back in 16? 15, 16? Yep, it was on the ballot in 16.
Yep.
We included the results of that one in here. You can see that it was roughly about a 2-to-1 against. Some of the reflection on how that went down, there were recommendations of maybe a little bit more of an educational format up front, and reaching out to the community, kind of giving them a good idea of what it looked like, what the costs were, those sorts of things. So we did present some of this data before. ODOT no longer has staffing in their gas and tax division to provide you any data anymore, so they won't actually send you information. So this is similar information to what we looked at last time. Looking at it, you can see that projected total tax revenues are roughly around $500,000 with the volumes that were being pumped between 2019 and 23. You can see some of the COVID reactions to traffic in that time. But really, 23, we were past that, and it's still hovering around that $500,000 if we were to tax at 3 cents per gallon. So we did get back calculate 1 cent per gallon roughly equated to $175,000 a year in funding that would be placed towards streets. So in our first work session, David was nice enough to give us a few ideas on how you present that to, you know, Joe citizen on looking at what does that look like. So we took a look at, you know, if you had a 20-gallon fuel tank and you went to fill it up, it was an additional 60 cents, so less than $1. Looking at the next one, if you were driving 15,000 miles a year, which is actually conservative for drivers nowadays, I think 24 estimate put drivers in Eastern Oregon around 9,000 to 10,000 miles a year, which I thought was very interesting. In a vehicle averaging 25 miles to the gallon, that was an additional $18 a year is what it's going to cost you to bring the city of LaGrande to $500,000. So some of the other items to be discussed were trying to estimate transient travelers and people who are commuting to LaGrande. Really not an easy thing to get. There isn't any data out there that you can really pull that from other than if you're standing at the gas station asking people where they're from. We do have estimates where people are thinking around 50-50. So basically what that means is 50% of the revenues that would be generated from the gas tax would be coming from people who don't live in LaGrande, street users who are just coming through. The tax would not affect stations outside the business footprint, the corporation of LaGrande. So that includes, say, the Flying J truck stop. It would include the New Jackson's truck stop, which is getting a lot more traffic and is inside the city of LaGrande.
Where is that?
It is over on Mulholland, so right next to Starbucks, Banner Bank, Denny's.
Chevron.
Yeah.
Yep, that's
They call that
Jackson's.
Jackson's, okay.
That's
Yeah, it
Jackson's.
says Jackson on the store.
Oh,
Yeah.
By Denny's and that.
yeah.
And they purchased the area over next to Starbucks and Banner Bank to be used as truck parking during inclement weather. They've just never gotten to the point where they've actually had to develop it. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the owner's from Tri-Cities.
Mhm. He owns a lot of the gas stations.
Yes, he does. A lot of them.
Yeah.
Because I read somewhere in here where you kept saying Island City, but Island City would not be included, the Chevron out there.
Correct. I think one of the biggest questions that usually comes forth is what's going to stop people from wanting to just drive to Island City
Yeah.
because they pay 3 cents less.
Right.
Sorry. Convenience, obviously.
Yeah.
Just-
Yeah,
just makes me
differences
giggle.
of 3 cents a
Yeah, 'cause
gallon within the
Americans
city.
are really known for going out of their way.
Yeah.
They are.
Well, for one thing,
Try to
their
go to
gas might
Sinclair's.
be more expensive anyway.
Well, I go-
I know,
Wasn't it the
it's
same
really
owner
silly when people say
That
that.
has the one in town and the one out there.
There's
and
only
then
one
Sid-
out there.
Yeah, the Chevron, I'm talking about middle of town. And then the Jacksons, isn't that owned by the same person?
No.
And so-
No.
Oh, it's not? Oh.
No, well, the Chevron down here is owned by somebody else.
Yeah,
But
it
the person who owns Jackson's does own quite a few gas
Okay,
stations
that's the one.
around
Oh,
town. I think
okay,
they
yeah.
bought out
Yeah,
Walmart.
but he doesn't
Well,
own
that's
the,
one,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, but he doesn't own the Exxon and the Mobil and
Sinclair's.
the CM one, because that is owned by, I found out about that today. I can't remember, it's in my phone somewhere.
So it's interesting though, because, as I've talked with people, lots of people, for the last 3-4 years. And when I present it this way, where you're literally talking 60 cents a gallon, this will be under $25 a year that you will pay. And especially when people understand that the alternatives to this are all worse. So alternative one is we continue to let our roads deteriorate. Nobody thinks that's okay. Nobody wants that. John just put out your thing on social media, and I
Yeah.
looked at those comments.
Yeah, I did
The
too.
vast
All roads.
majority of them are streets.
Right.
Vast majority of the thing that people would want to change most about LeGrand is roads. So, okay, you want to change it? So what do? We can get taxed directly. So, if you put that all, there's no other way to do this. This is a 2-for-1 deal, right? Like Citizen in LeGrand pays in $1 and gets another $1 back from somebody who's not a citizen but is driving on our roads and gassing up at our pump. You cannot find that deal any other way you slice this. So,
I think-
hands down, the best way to proceed forward with this.
I think we can add in another flavor that might make it even more attractive to the citizenry, which is, if I go on this now.
Go ahead.
If we make it a limited duration tax, and the reason why I say that is because within this PACE plan that we're building is the opportunity for us to create relief in the future that might make it so we won't have to keep it. And I feel very optimistic that the way granted I might be naive, but I feel optimistic that we can show them a very good actionable plan that's going to give them a picture of how the relief is going to be created and how that could translate into what we're talking about right now. And so I would argue that if we pursue this as a limited duration to fill the gap so that we're not going back to the way it was before ARPA, while at the same time this gives us the chance to get the framework in place and get it to start to pay out, while this is filling the gap, keeping the progress going forward that they've started, and then at the same time putting that in place. And then in the worst case scenario, we have a little bit of overlap between the two, which gives us more opportunity to do more rapidly in probably like 5 to 6 years down the road from now.
So my question, Kyle, is I don't know that I have a good sense of what $500,000 means as far as paving roads.
That was one of the questions,
Yeah,
how
can
much
we-
would that?
Can we put this
do?
in terms of
How many roads?
what it would mean to a citizen? Because to me, if we decide to carry this forward, and by the way, I'm all in favor of that, right? But I think it's got to be done. If we decide to carry this forward, I think, again, that the education piece of this is so critical to its success. And I want to be able to put this in terms that people can wrap their heads around. Like, people are clamoring for repave my road. How many roads does this let us do? Like, can you translate the money into what that means practically?
I mean, a lot of it depends on the type of projects
Right.
you're gonna do. So
Right.
like Second Street, where we're redoing ADA ramps, we're redoing curbs, we're pulling up everything and redoing the asphalt, you're gonna get about 3 blocks
Okay.
for $500,000.
Okay.
When you look at the other street projects we did, your Harrison, your Division, your South 12th Street, you're probably looking more on the lines of like 30 blocks.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. So when we subbed out for the grind and inlays, we did Walnut, Alder, 12th, and that was all of them. And that was roughly around $1 million. So you could say all of N and all of 12th would have been done with $500,000.
Wow.
So what I think would be,
That's just your overlay though, is that what you're talking about?
That was a grind and inlay. If we don't have to do the
Okay.
grind, you
Yeah.
could probably almost double it, and that's where you're probably at like 30 blocks.
And how many of our roads are in that kind of condition? I'm sorry. Dave.
no, that's fine.
In that kind of
Yeah,
condition,
that's all.
pretty
we
much
need to-
everything on the north side, because we have no curbs.
Okay.
Overlays are really easy to do when you have
Okay,
no curb.
okay.
When you think about like M&N Avenue from 4th up to the hospital, there's no curb left. So those are the ones where we need to
Okay.
do a grind and inlay because we have nothing that really gathers the stormwater and directs it to the stormwater system.
And how
So
much is that?
That's the one that's like 12th and
Yeah.
N, where you
Okay.
would get
All right.
a really good chunk done.
On L
But then
Street,
some of those roads, like 18th and so forth, on the edges, there's
No
big
curbs.
holes there now.
And,
Yep.
yeah, that's what he,
Yeah, and that's,
Yeah.
needs to be.
Edge cracking.
Yeah.
Yep.
So one thing I think may be helpful too, I know that you've created sort of a, priority or next up list for roads, which I think has been fantastic. And I've seen citizens pay some attention to that, but again, it would be interesting to say, okay, like here's what we're planning this year, but by the way, if this gas tax passes, we get this.
Mhm.
And the next year we get this many more. And the next, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then, I think too, the bigger issue here is you explained it previously to the council, Kyle, is we fell behind the curve on what it takes to maintain our current roads at existing conditions. We, at some point in the past, made funding decisions that put us behind that curve.
Yep.
And so we're playing catch-up right now. I don't know if we have a sense of what it means to get back on top of that curve, where we can now be at
We need to.
literally a maintenance perspective, where we know the dollars it's gonna take every year, barring some unforeseen event, to just maintain road conditions at present. Because my understanding is that right now, we can't. Like, we're deteriorating faster than we can repair funding-wise.
Without
And I think-
ARPA, yeah.
Yeah, I think that has to be communicated to our citizens, like, this gets worse if we do nothing.
But then
So-
Okay.
if you retire it, are you, like you were saying, not have it continue, then roads will go back that way.
It'll go back and get worse.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, you're 100% right. You're on the
So
mark.
we've got to keep it going.
Yeah, that's exactly the
Yeah.
thought process and the plan. I think that's what everybody's getting after.
Yeah.
But the key is what you're highlighting over here is the level of education and interaction we're having with
That's definitely.
the community. I can say that I feel like the framework is in place right now and is gaining momentum. In the civic engagement that we're doing, and we've already talked about how central this is going to be to our efforts going forward. And so, if I understand correctly, some of the failure from the past was a lack of adequate education to the public. And so, combining what you guys have shared here today and what you brought to the conversation, I feel like we're increasing our odds of success significantly through what we've started and what we will continue to do and build even better over the next 6 months to a year.
Can I say something? I totally agree. We need to do something totally for the roads. And I have some information. I talked to a lot of the gas owners, okay, today and stuff. Yes, we gotta do the roads. Somewhere, like we talked in the past, we didn't apply enough revenue, obviously, in our budget for roads. Also, we never increased it for the price increase, which is our fault, because we should. I mean, just like you have to do your employees, you got so much a percent, we gotta do that. Because the fuel state tax here in Oregon is 40 cents. Then we have all the fees, which is 32.9. So per gallon, we are paying an extra 72.9. And the federal tax is only 0.184 and so forth. And one of the gas owners I was talking to, she was basically saying that there's so many apps on thing that you could check gas out.
Yeah.
I just pulled up one of the numbers for the CM Country Store, you know, the gas, because that was the main manager where she was at. And she says, she believes totally the roads need to be fixed, and 3% compared to what Cotec wanted to do, 6%. I understand. But she says, what is gonna stop people stopping at Baker, because they can see by their app at Love's and Maverick.
It's not gonna stop.
And then Arrowhead and Pendleton. The thing is we're also, I'm not saying not to go for this, but I mean, we need to think about all this. I think also, the thing is we're basing it like, 50% of our revenue will come from people going through. We really can't do that. I mean, I hate to say this, but I fill up every flippin' time before I come into LeGrand. I only fill up if I have to in LeGrand. I'm sorry, but I do. And, you know, that's just what I do. In Sinclair, you try to get into Sinclair sometimes, and you can't, because they are the cheapest in town. And people are like that. I'm not saying doing this. People want the roads, but I also think we need to increase our budget for roads. I think we can't just depend on this, even if it's just a short term or long term. It's not gonna cover it.
So-
We are so far behind.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
There's only certain ways we can increase a road budget. So currently. the-
Why is there only a certain way?
well,
Because it's a fund of its own.
It's a fund of
Yeah.
its own. So
Yeah.
the
It's an
street and
enterprise
roads
fund.
are funded through the federal gas tax, which is that 0.18.
Right,
That's
right.
where we get the majority of our
Right.
money. You also have the street user fee, which is a fee we bill on water bills.
That's correct, yeah.
So that one, you as a council control.
Direct tax
So-
to a citizen though, no money coming in from a
Nobody coming
non-citizen
from anyone
whatsoever.
else.
That's 1-to-1. So you
Yeah.
take $500,000,
Yeah.
that's a $500,000 that you just taxed our
Yeah.
citizens.
Oh, I
You just-
understand that.
And they didn't get a chance to vote on it.
Right.
We just do it.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
just do it.
yeah,
That's just a wave of your hand.
yeah.
There's, federal money that comes down through ODOT, but when you look at general fund dollars that come to streets,
There isn't any.
There isn't any.
there isn't a
Well, I
monthly,
know
there
that.
isn't an annual allotment that comes to.
So your
Well, I know, but
options
why
are-
can't we add more to that budget?
You're
can't.
you're gonna have
Why
to
can't
cut.
we? I don't
no
understand.
revenue coming.
Where are you gonna get the money?
Where are you gonna take it
Yeah, the
from?
problem is, so go back to early on me coming into the seat, and that's talking about balanced budget, right?
Right,
So if we're already struggling to be able to make sure we're doing it the way that we think is most appropriate, well, then that's gonna compound the problem even more. So what we'd have to do is we'd either have to cut services to meet it, or we would have to pull money out of savings in order to be able to cover it, knowing full well that we're probably not gonna get it back.
right.
And so it's not that you can't do it, the question is whether you should.
That's $500,000. Like, this
Exactly.
is not like I can pull 10,000.
Right.
Especially with
You
these
can't
other
squeeze this
tools that
orange
we
in.
have.
Yeah, but what if we don't make the $500,000 out
So,
of it?
so you
I mean, what if we
mentioned,
don't? I mean, I'm just throwing that,
Yeah,
I'm being the
that-
devil's
that-
advocate here.
So
You're right,
unless-
if we
unless
don't, there's a
our-
problem, you're right.
Unless gas utilization goes down, that's the protection.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's say gas utilization, let's say that 5% of people decide, I want to drive to Island City because I'm furious that LeGrand is taxing me.
Or electric
If
cars.
5% of, I mean, you can do the math, but we're still awfully close to $500,000. Any way you slice it, this is
Still
the
better.
big dog.
Yeah.
It's the big dog, and you're getting it at 50%. Or, I mean, so you say, okay, well, maybe it's not 50, but let's say it's 40. It's a big win, any way you slice it. Anything
Well,
like
I
that is
agree,
gravy on
I
top.
agree with
Yeah,
that, but
'cause
we
it's
need
not
to
a direct
think about
tax.
other things.
Right, but there's no other way.
I'm-
Literally,
No,
there's
I'm
other way to
100%
get
on
money.
board,
Yeah.
but I'm tapped out as coming, or we're tapped out and coming up with another idea and an alternate
Right.
way to go about
Well,
it.
what
It's
did you mean
not,
by you just said, cutting something? You'd have to cut
It's
something.
cut services.
oh, we'd have to cut
Okay,
services
what kind of-
elsewhere.
What though?
Whether
Yeah.
we reduce
Yeah.
staff somewhere or
Gotcha.
reduce budget
Yeah.
in some way or another in order to be
And
able
you can't
to
afford
pull
to
money
do-
from somewhere
correct.
else. You could probably get away for a limited amount of time to be able to pull some money from savings in order to offset this. But at the same time, in this greater plan that we have going on right now in order to do this fiscal transformation, we're already making that part of the plan.
Right.
So if we're gonna bring that into the mix too, well, now we're gonna exhaust that money even faster than what we would be if we exercise any one of these other plans. There's a number of ways that can be done. I would argue what we're talking about here is the best and most responsible thing we could do for the community. Even though it's not a matter of we're gonna be able to convince people to like it, what we can convince them is that we're getting them what they're asking for. And this is, and we have to fund it, and this is I would argue, the most responsible way we can do it while not reducing the other services that we're providing.
Well, see, I'm all in favor, I mean, if that's what the community wants, you know, I think that's what, you know, I mean,
They definitely want the
Yeah.
streets fixed.
well, they definitely do.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the word, in my opinion, the word adding tax, they're just gonna go through the roof. But I think, if you, like you're saying, your presentation and how it's gonna be sold to them, so to speak. And
It's
like
gonna be
also saying,
important. Yeah.
like just now in the budget, like you're saying, no, you can't take it from there, whatever. That, I didn't know that. And you only get the monies for fixing roads in certain areas.
Yeah.
Educate them.
100% agree, and I
Yeah.
think where we might be able to gain some favorability too is in that limited duration conversation.
Right.
That we would revisit it in the future for, if the desire is to keep it, but for the community to decide. But we have already planned sunset date of when it would end, but that gives us time to give this other plan opportunity to work.
So are you saying we would just implement that or have them vote on it?
Have them vote on it.
Oh, good, that's
As
what
part
I
of the
was
vote
hoping.
would
I
include
was
a
hoping
sunset of, let's say, like no later than 10 years from now.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Is it
No,
a-
Yeah,
I-
you could just say,
Well,
okay,
I just use that as an example,
Okay.
the,
I thought, no, please.
My concern with that is just, I mean, I'm trying to look 10 years forward,
Yeah.
and I think there's just no way. I mean, the costs just
This
go
is-
up, the road costs
Yeah.
go up.
And then you
so-
start your whole
I
process
think,
over
I think there,
Right.
I think there could be a way though.
But again, we're limited in how we can even generate money. Like, we
Well,
can't pull it out of the general fund. So
And we
how-
know that this isn't the, if we decide to move forward, this isn't the only gas tax referendum that's gonna be on the
I
ballot.
know.
The states is still going to be on the
Right.
ballot.
But the
trying to
other
move
piece
it
of
to
the
May, though.
education is, the state taxes, and not all that money, as I understand it, stays locally, right? That goes back to
No,
the
no, no,
state's
we just get a
benefit
chunk
and
of
it's
it, we just get a chunk of
distributed.
it. Yeah.
That's
Here,
part of that.
this all stays local.
Yes.
And we can tell them exactly what we do with that money. They know exactly where that dollar is going. The state, they don't, right? That goes into the ethereal whatever and then distributed out however the state decides to do it. I'm batting 100% on this. I don't know how many times I've had this conversation with people here in LeGrand. It's been dozens, I'm sure. Is it 100? If not, it's.
I know.
it's, you
I've
but-
had it too.
But I'm literally batting 100%. When I finished that and I said, would you be willing to do that if it meant improving our roads? I get it, yeah, I would.
I can tell you
$20
that,
is what you're talking. You drive a vehicle,
You're right.
average number of miles. If you drive less than that, fine. If you drive more than that, do a little bit of math. But there's very few people who aren't commuting to Portland, you know,
I
on a
mean-
real regular basis who are putting more than maybe 20, 30,000. I mean, at 30,000 miles, this is less than $40 a year. That's insane for what we can achieve with that money. And again, I think just explaining to people, it's the only way we bring in outside dollars into this money. It's cheap. It's a discounted tax is what it
I
is.
can tell you that Kyle and I went out and spent some time on one street where we, through all this engagement that we've been doing, we've been able to set up people like, hey, invite us out to come and talk to you on your neighborhood. And we went out and stood on their street with them, and we were looking at it with them, and we were like, yeah, we're in full agreement with you, this is junk. But I can tell you that while we're there, they're saying, hey, what can we do to help?
Right.
Like, can we personally fund this? And we,
Yeah, so
we
can
told
they?
them.
Can they
well,
help a little
could,
bit?
they could do that. But our answer to them was, hey, because this was in the early conception of all these things we're talking about right now. Our answer to them was, give us a chance to build the menu before
Right.
you're starting to pay. And so they were happy about that. And then this is another option that we're putting on the menu for them. But when it comes right down to it, I feel like the education is going to be the key, and that interaction is going to be the key. Of course, we would be happy to execute this in whatever direction that the council ultimately decides to issue. But I do feel like one of the things that's going to be a reality in this PACE E plan that we're talking about is I think we're going to be able to do a great job of showing the community how hard we're working to keep them from getting any additional taxes beyond this. But I also don't feel confident that it's going to answer the mail fast enough to get us the kind of rapid result that they're gonna want or need.
Correct.
And so I see that there's a decent likelihood that we're gonna end up at a place in time where they can see with confidence that we've done the best that we can, but there is no other choice but for us to establish, most likely, a special district. And when they arrive at that conclusion, depending on which form of special district we decide to go, we're gonna have substantial relief to the general fund. And in doing that, we will be able to find ways to use our own funds to be able to supplement some of this work for the going into the future. Agreed, like that's a lot of speculation, but I think the more we work with the community and the more we interact with them and educate them, and the more we build trust and show them how we're traversing this at the times that we're traversing it, then they're going to be constantly aware that the extra emergent one is going to be cut services. And they're not going to want it worse than it is right now.
Right.
They're going to want a resolve. And if we can't get it through the first 3 steps, well, then the 4th step gives them a guarantee fix. The 5th step is go back to worse than it was before.
So I think, you know, we keep talking about how much education is going to be critical here. I will say, John, as you mentioned earlier, I think you've positioned us well to have avenues to do that we really have not tapped into before. You know,
Yeah.
these town halls, these educational meetings, as you get out
Facebook
and are
posts.
Yeah,
you know,
excellent.
outward facing to people, I think it gives us opportunities to achieve that. I mean, we want people to, we need them to vote their feelings, but we want them to do it with both eyes open. They need to be positioned to make an informed decision.
Right.
And I think in the past, they haven't been. They haven't understood the math. You know, they hear the word tax, they imagine some egregious thing. When you look at these numbers, this is not egregious. In fact, it's extraordinarily reasonable. And so, you know, I would love personally to see something like this planned for the November ballot even. And I realize that we may be butting up against the state depending on what they decide to do. I mean, I think they're trying to get theirs on May now.
Yeah, they
but,
are.
you know, we'll see what happens there, but I'm done with shirking this last week, but it's gonna be unpopular, whatever. Okay, but it's down to us doing the legwork to educate people and to come up with a strategy toward that end. But anyway, I would strongly be in favor of pursuing something like that. I know we're not making decisions tonight, but I think it's good to know. So, you know, I would hope that we could utilize a strategy that incorporates a lot of that. And maybe we need to build some more things in, you know, question and answer sessions, whatever, education sessions, go over these numbers with people, get it out. No, how many people read the newspaper anymore? Like, you know, how do you disseminate information in this day and age it's a difficult challenge, but we've got to be able to do it. And I think when you get these numbers in front of people's eyes, they look at this and say, hey, this is what I want, and this is hands down the best way to achieve it. Maybe they vote in support.
I would like to see us considering the single moms who are working 2 jobs and can't afford $20 worth of gas in their car. I'm not saying that we shouldn't go forward with this at all. I 100% think it's a great idea, and I agree with everything you're saying, David. I also think that if we're going to be talking about educating, we also need to remind ourselves that we need to be educated on the poverty levels in this town and the impact it's going to have on people who need to travel to work. And one of the ways I think that we could potentially help folks in those situations understand the gravity of the situation is by comparing that $40 a year in gas to the maintenance that their car would have to undergo when they hit too many potholes and things like that.
What's an alignment these days? Where's Preston when you need you?
Well, I know, and I'm just saying there's realities, and sometimes people they're so wrapped up in the traumas they're living, or
As well as elderly people and their fixed incomes.
right,
too.
and then there's just
$40 is quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I realize that's $40 a year we're talking, and that
Right.
overtime is only a few bucks a month, but at the same time, it's just,
I think it's
I think we just need to honor
It was
all of our
it was
citizens, and our
$18
poverty
a
levels
year
are
for this.
high.
I'm glad you're saying that. I'll make, assuming that the guidance that we get is to move forward in this, I'll make sure that our messaging includes addressing that. So that we're speaking to it in a way that makes sure that the community knows that we're sympathetic to it, while at the same time the problem is real and we still have to solve it.
This is literally, I'm not a coffee drinker, but for those of you who are, right, this is 2 to 3 cups of coffee a year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or maybe
That's
2
the
cups
terms
if you go to
Maybe it's
Starbucks.
Like, that's the
True,
terms
but-
for you to put this in, because
But the poverty folks don't go out to Starbucks, right? You know what I'm saying?
I beg to
disagree.
differ.
Okay, well, you
Some
can
do
disagree.
and some don't.
Don't, yeah,
But
not
when you're
everybody.
looking at your
Yeah.
WIC vouchers and your food stamps, or it's not that anymore, SNAP,
Right.
like it's just, it makes a huge difference. And maybe, yeah, you get to splurge every now and again, but they're not going every single day. I wouldn't imagine, because I've lived it in my lifetime.
Yeah.
There was no way I could go. I could barely afford diapers for my kids or formula when I needed it because they stopped nursing. Like, I just, these are realities that we need to face, and some of us have a higher income and don't have to think about those realities.
Yeah.
And so it's important that we.
That's true.
Well, it is true.
That is true.
So,
Kyle, that one meeting we were at, you put out that spreadsheet of the roads and the projected, I think that would be something really beneficial to share too, how
Yeah.
the money's gonna be spent and where it's gonna be spent, so they can also have a visual of it. So,
That actually calmed down a lot of people.
it did, it
At the,
did.
oh, then my road's on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That meant a lot to people.
But,
Yeah.
but the people whose roads weren't on the list weren't happy, but if you could,
But they were just happy to see there was a list.
Yes.
That's what they
Yes.
came back and said, like, hey, look, I don't care if I'm not on the list, I just glad to know there is
Well,
one.
glad
Now what do I
there's-
gotta do to get on it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's.
that's
And I-
true.
And I think that's part, kind of addressing some of the comments I've heard of the educational process.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't due if we want to put it in until, I think it was, Stacy sent me the date, but August 14th. There's
August.
plenty of time for an educational event where you can
Right.
actually approach the voters, show them the numbers and
Town
say,
hall.
And, yeah, well,
what
and
would
more.
make this palatable to you? What would make this pass if I tie it to projects, if I tie it to a time frame, if we tie it to no other new taxes, if there's a new tax by the state, we drop it, because we don't want to compound problems, and we will receive a portion of that 6 cents. The way that the state sends money down is the state gets 50, counties get 30, cities get 20.
And they
So,
don't dictate how it can be used, it's just specifically roads.
it's specifically for roads. It's-
Right.
if-
Right,
if
and I think
they're-
if that's made, like, educated, let everybody know, then
Yeah.
So,
Because a lot of people.
one
are
of the
afraid.
things that's going on in the backdrop right now is on Friday, many of the staff, not Kyle this week, but many of the staff, one of the things we've started to do for the civic engagement effort, using social media, is they're all meeting with either AdDad or Brent Clapp Productions to create different things to tell our story from the city perspective.
Oh,
Good.
And that's all gonna be going out on social media. Kyle and I have had, not extensive, but significant conversation already about how a big portion of the things he's gonna talk about is gonna be, especially depending on what comes from this meeting, focused on education and having to do this. So I can tell you that over the next month and a half, one way or another, you're gonna see a lot coming out from them, in regards to the city. This could be easily woven into stuff we've already started to program money for, to make sure that we're getting after this. So we're not gonna wait till August to start talking about it, we're gonna start talking about it right now.
and visual
to.
learning.
And really, we already kind of are, because I tell you on that
Yeah.
Facebook, when it blew up last
Yes.
week,
Yeah.
everything I kept telling everybody was, hey, we're talking about this tonight, it relates to this.
You did, yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
can email me, or you can watch the presentation, whatever the case may be.
And-
Probably how you found out about it, right?
Kyle, can we revisit what you were just saying, because you said something that intrigued me a little bit, so,
Okay.
if the state passes a gas tax, I don't think it's going to, but if they do,
So,
And how much
cents a
were we
gallon,
getting?
you said it's broken down, state gets 50, county gets 30, city gets 20% of that.
of the whole pot.
Right.
Of the whole. plot.
So.
20% of that 6 cents is 2 cents,
Yep.
right? So we're already better off if we do 3 cents, but you made it sound like we could reject that?
Well, I mean, the way that you can formulate is a local gas tax is you
Uh-huh.
can put conditions on it all the way down. You can say, we only want to collect our gas tax during the summer when there's high visitor traffic. When in the winter, when nobody's coming through, we don't have to tax, we can turn it off. You can put a timeline on it, it sunsets at this point or this amount of money. You can tie it to a list of projects that says, once these projects are done, we turn it off. I think in the past, one of the biggest hurdles we've always had with citizens is that their view of how we do work doesn't lead to confidence that they want to give us more money. Their belief is you get enough, fix them.
Yeah.
Hence the civic engagement and us telling our stories so that they know with confidence that we're spending our money the way that we're responsible.
But I'm intrigued by that. So would it be possible then for us to craft something that says, if by some off chance the state decides to shove a gas tax down, then we'll, for whatever percentage of that we get, we would drop our local one
So that it stays the
accordingly.
same.
Right, like I wonder about
That's a
something like that
win.
being
Yeah.
palatable, and do we avoid some of the political conflict with what the state's trying to push if we did something like that? Where we say, hey, we recognize that people are worried about that. They're thinking this could be 3 and then 6.
Yeah.
And so we're saying, whatever portion we get of that, projected amount that we thought we would, we're gonna deduct that amount. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
You know what I'm
know what
saying?
you're saying,
We
yeah.
would let the state's amount backfill this.
What are
and-
our
I
three
mean,
cents, yeah.
if we have that much control over how we craft it, that might be a nice selling point.
Mhm. And I think as the early educational outreach, that's kind of what you're asking
Right.
voters. What makes this palatable? Because we
Right.
coming to you and saying, hey, give me 3 cents from now until eternity, we know that's not palatable.
Yeah.
That's not what anybody wants to hear. So how can we craft something in that educational experience that says, hey, I'm willing to give you that much rope. And if you hang yourself, we're done. If you don't, if you use it wisely, we'll revisit it and we can do something different. But to build that confidence, and for me, that's kind of building off of what we did with the ARPA funds. I know I've constantly said, for the first time in my career, I actually got some compliments. They were backhanded sometimes, but they were compliments. To have somebody say something good, like, hey, you guys did a great job on the streets, not one particular project, but hey, your strategy was seen, and we appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think there's never gonna be another time, we're never gonna get a pot of money where we can say, look at the performance and see what we did when we had the funds, and we can continue it if we have them, but we don't have them.
Which is a key part of our messaging going
Right.
forward is if you don't want this to stop,
Right.
this is our way we keep it going right now.
Has Parking, Traffic Safety and Maintenance Advisory Commission?
Just go to Pit Snack.
Yeah, PitSmack, okay, has PitSmack, that's great, I love it. Have they been talking about this recently as well, or did you just bring this forward again?
To us.
Paragraph 1, they endorsed it.
No, I know they endorsed it long ago, though.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if it was
This is
talked
number
about
from last
recently.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
they
would
endorsed
probably
it in
say-
24.
Yeah,
I
but-
know, but it's been 2 years, so I just wondered if it's come up again with them and if
yeah.
they had any other
Yeah.
thoughts.
It stays on our unfinished business.
Okay, thank
So
you.
every time we hold a meeting, we talk about it. They're all still invested with playing a part in the educational campaign.
Okay,
And they're all on board.
okay, thank
Well, that's
you.
good.
Well, I also think if we go through this, the council needs to be involved. We're
yeah.
happy to help, I believe.
Oh, you know what, that's
Yeah.
interesting, like, we could even get you guys
Yeah.
involved with the civic engagement portion of
Sure.
it, with what we're putting into stuff. I might have to figure out how to come up with a couple extra dollars because we hadn't thought about it from that lens, but we're
But see, we
tapped
can
right now.
repost whatever you do on our line, social,
Yep,
our
yeah.
social things.
Oh, yeah, at
and
the
then-
very least, if
Yeah.
you're doing it that way,
Yeah,
that
I
would be
mean,
great.
that won't cost the
Whether or not you
city
want to be the
anything.
face of it, but
But
if
we
you
should
want to
be.
be the face of it,
Who wants to be the
But-
face of a tax?
you know.
But we should be,
well,
but we should be the
But it'd be united, it wouldn't just be like you alone, it'd be everybody.
I
Yeah.
mean, we should be the face of it too, and not just you
I
guys.
agree, yes. it
Yeah,
should
I would
be
have
city
to,
staff.
yeah, we have to be careful about, like, we have to approach this from an education standpoint,
Right.
not telling people how to vote.
Right, right.
Um,
Oh,
So
definitely.
what's
Yeah.
really important with this August date is like, once we file it, us
Well,
staff has to stay completely out of it.
So then it has
It's
to come
you-
to us,
It's all you
okay.
guys, we are held by ORS.
So you have
We
that
cannot-
deadline to
So then we
educate,
could,
and then it
we
comes on
could
us.
stage this so that we're doing the education point up front.
Front, okay.
And then when we, because we'll be in a new budget year and we're already working on numbers for what that civic engagement dollars are gonna look like. And so we can make sure that that's built in, that we're having you guys be a part of that as well.
Right. I mean, I just think if we're gonna do this, we should be up front too and say,
We're in
and
support.
we're support, and this is why.
Yeah,
I
I just
really
don't like
don't.
that word tax, but.
Yeah,
Can't
we
get
don't,
rid-
but it's,
yeah.
but we also can't sugarcoat it, like
No,
I said.
exactly,
We don't have
exactly.
to say we like it, we just have to say it's the only way to solve our
Yeah,
problem.
people
Correct,
hate that
correct.
word, that's the reason.
Yeah.
Well,
She
and
mentioned
to
that.
piggyback on that, it's not the only way to solve your
All
problem.
right, yeah.
It's just the most palatable, as you point
Right,
out.
right.
Because,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at, I always joke with John that our streets are kind of like a micro example of his base plan. Because you can pull off the whole city and look at it in this little piece of our city. And you know, we have the primary and alternative, and those are our options as we move toward the streets. And we have one where if it gets an emergency, it just takes, you know, me coming before you with a move saying, hey, we need to jump our street user fee, and we need to jump it enough so we get this much funding just to keep our streets so we can travel. And so that's the emergency. But I think your guys' guidance, John's guidance has always said, we don't want to shove something down the citizens' throats to
Right.
say, hey, you want better streets, we're going to give them to you. We want them to have choices. We want them to look at it, and that's kind of when I look at the overall arching PACE plan, what we're looking at with the streets. We're looking at those primary and alternative options to kind of say, let's run
buy-in.
down these roads, and if they don't work in the next 6 months to a year, then we go to the next
And,
step.
but we make them aware that
Right.
if we don't
Don't.
pass this, then the emergency is we have to do it that
Mm-hmm.
way. Or we just let this, actually, we let the streets just fall apart.
Yeah.
And
Which-
really, this is to me the most compassionate approach, you know, and as you talk about, yes, we want to be cognizant of the single parents and people that are living, you know, paycheck to paycheck. But the reality is, we do worse by them if we do nothing. Because we get further and further behind this curve until we get to the point where we are forced to do something extreme. And that comes, again, the only way we can do that forcefully, that's 100% tax burden, right to every citizen of LeGrand. This is, we're talking probably 50%. They're probably doubling their money in this if we take this route.
Yeah.
To me, it's hands down the most compassionate approach to do what simply needs to be done.
I agree, it's just people get scared, and so
I-
I.
Yeah,
I
but
know.
they do, sure.
This is when you also look at the gas tax and the methodology that the state plays behind it, it's higher users pay higher taxes. Our other alternative, when you're going to use the street user fee, everybody across the board, I don't even care if you have a car, you may ride the bus because you can't afford a car, you're still paying us $4 to $8 a month.
Or you may not even live here.
Right?
Right.
Well, if
Own
you're
a
in with
house
the
here
tax,
and pay
yeah.
the bill.
Yeah,
That's true.
you may just own a rental here, you're paying us for that too.
And it's a fair tax. You know, the reality is we have a lot of our employees who come into LeGrand, they drive our streets, they work here, they play here, they go to our, you know, parks and our libraries and our pool, and they place wear and tear on those roads. And this is a way of saying, we assume that if you drive here, you may also fuel up here. And if you fuel up here, great, then you get to help contribute to the
Thank you.
condition of the roads that you wear down.
Right.
In the same sense, people who are driving through town, and we're gonna get fortunate because a lot of people drive on the freeway, and to your point, Denise, it's 45 miles between Pendleton
right.
and here and Baker and here. That's why people are gonna stop here, because they're looking at their gas tank and thinking, I'm at quarter tank. Do I really wanna push on another 45 minutes? Or do I just wanna pull over here in the Grand and grab a burger and
And then I
gas
guess,
up?
how many people look at an app
So-
to see what the gas is the next
Yeah,
town?
I-
There's gonna be
Hold on,
some,
dude.
there's gonna
I'd
be
be
some, yeah.
surprised.
I've never done that.
I can tell you, I go to Sinclair's because it's cheaper.
Sure.
Well, I do too, but,
Yeah.
Yeah,
My
but I do
my
our
one-
local one.
Yeah. Yeah,
My one
I
wish
go in
was-
Milton Freewater.
Well, Pendleton is cheaper than here. They're
It
like
is.
5
And
It is.
Bakers too.
Yeah, so is Baker.
I
We have
wish
not
we could
seen
get
the
the truck
drop of
stop.
gas price
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
like
trust
everyone
is
else
the key.
has.
I wish, well, but I wish we could get the truck stop on board.
Oh, truck
And
stop.
it almost makes me want to kind of talk with the owners. I mean, I would hope that if they're capitalists, maybe they'll look around and they're like, oh, they can charge 3 cents more, then I can too. But you know, I just, I think a lot of the truckers that come through are big fuel users.
Yep.
And, you know, I regret, I know at one point there was talk about, you know, annexing that part of the city. I think it would have solved that issue.
Yep.
And been another little boon to the gas tax. Again, most of those long-haul truckers, they're not local citizens, but they would be paying into that fund, which would be really nice.
It'd be a little bit off topic to try and get off to that now, but I think we should talk about that more in the
Right.
future.
But what about the opposite? When all of the people who own gas stations in LeGrand start seeing that nobody's coming because they're charging 3 cents more than everybody else, are they gonna close their margin down 3 cents just to bring those prices down and then the volume comes back?
It's possible.
I mean,
Yeah.
we all don't know what margins sit on the gas stations in LeGrand. Why is it higher? Is it fuel delivery costs? Is it not buying enough bulk? We don't know
Because we haven't boycotted.
Because,
they
well,
sit.
mainly one owner has the majority of the gas stations, and he pretty much dictates what the prices are.
Well, and if
and
he
others-
wants to make money, he needs volume,
Yeah, yeah.
one way or another.
That's true.
Kyle, this is a marvelously put together presentation. I think this is great. I think if we can break some of this down into, sound bites, that's a great start for, building an educational model for how we want to present this. I do think, again, I think it's useful to have that information on how the dollars translate. What does this mean? 30 blocks? That's impressive, and
Yeah,
if
here's-
we're saying, hey, especially if we can start to give examples and say, hey, you all know what this road looks like. This is how many blocks of a road like this translates into. And by the way, we're gonna commit to doing that as a city. Like, we're going to responsibly use these dollars to try to improve your lives and the quality of our town. I like that. Again, my personal experience is this goes over extraordinarily well. People are pleasantly surprised when they hear how minimal of a financial impact this is. That I think there's shock value when you hear gas tax, and then when the reality sets in, there's pleasant surprise at what that actually looks like to the average person.
And then
And
Ricky
so,
making the comment about the wear and tear of your vehicle too. It's a lot cheaper than,
This is cheaper than alignment.
Yeah,
A lot
yeah,
cheaper than a
it
tire.
is, it is,
Yeah.
100%.
But
But people
yeah.
don't always know that when they're
if you
talking.
can, I know you can't, but, in one of the presentations, whatever, to say 30 block radius or whatever 'cause I can't visualize it, but if you'd said, from here to here, these street names, whatever and stuff, people can then visualize, oh, that's the 30 block radius or something. I think that would be very beneficial.
Yep.
Especially if you do a visual presentation.
I can do that. I can scope $500,000 worth of projects of really poor roads and say,
Yeah,
this is the change.
And really, we've talked about this as prioritizing roads, and which is a proper way to approach it with the budget that we have. We've said, hey, we're gonna look at, core areas.
Collectors, arterials.
Yes,
heavily
yeah,
traveled
we're gonna look
roads.
at how heavily trafficked they are, and unfortunately, what it leaves is a lot of these residential roads that are in the poorest shape. And maybe we say something too, where we say, hey, you know what, we're gonna not just divide this the way we've always approached it, but we're actually gonna start at the bottom of the barrel. We're gonna take a portion of this money, and that's gonna go to the poorest road, whether it's the one that has 2 people living on it, or the one that has,
Oh, I like that idea.
100. And
I
like,
think
wouldn't that
that
be a
can
little
help a lot
bit
of
more,
people.
because the person who lives on one of those residential roads on the north side or wherever that's in rough shape and is saying, well, I'm still never gonna see my road on this list. If we take that approach, maybe they're looking at it and saying, you know what, I see my road now here. If we commit to using a little different strategy than we've,
Yeah.
out of necessity and properly done in the past, maybe that's another palatable point for it.
I think we could actually gain a lot of traction with that approach. One of the streets that we went out on was exactly that. Like, some of the logic we had to give them was the amount of traffic that they had on the street is one of the reasons they're so low on the priority list. So to actually give them a shot at the lottery of their street being on there based off of what you just described, would actually get us the opportunity to do well for them.
I mean, for heaven's sake, you could have a lottery. These are the 20 worst roads in town.
Buy some tickets.
We're gonna lotto ball this thing.
You buy all of them.
We're gonna pull them out until we exhaust, this percentage. I mean, you could have some fun with it.
Yeah,
And we
Really
take the
good.
revenue
Spin the
and put it
wheel.
back into the streets.
yeah.
Like, my voice has been heard, and my problems may be addressed in this in a way that they haven't in the past. And I think if we can do that, I mean, that's how we're trying to be responsible as a council. It's how you guys are trying to, do the best work, and it's what people want. So I think if we can get around that, then the ugly word tax starts to sound a little better, and they see it for what it is, which is a means of accomplishing a very important end.
And then they had a buy-in as well.
Yeah,
Right, we want their voice.
Yeah, if
We
they-
want them to decide.
Yeah,
this.
they're,
we want their buy-in.
Yeah,
I mean,
you want their
yeah,
buy-in, yeah.
yes.
Yeah, that's what we're supposed to be doing.
So once, if passed, if on the ballot and then passed, once enacted, how soon do we begin collecting the revenue so that we can start working on it? Is it immediately?
Yeah, the state collects it and distributes monthly,
Monthly, okay, thank you.
so we don't even have to collect it.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Do you have anything you want to add to it, Heather? To this discussion?
No.
So with, oh, I'm sorry.
I said, does that make
Anything with that?
more of a burden on you to collect that money from the state? I guess not, because they already send it in. Do you have to verify it? That it's-
Generally, they send me an email that it's on its way.
But I mean, do we verify that they're giving us what they say they're going to give us? Or what they should be giving us, I should say.
I would
Is there any
imagine
way
they
to
have
verify
auditors
that?
too, I would guess.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they audited.
Okay,
right.
okay, just checking.
Yeah, we were asking the same question, like, how do we know we're gonna get exact
Right.
amounts?
Yeah.
The hotel room tax,
Uh-huh.
where does that monies go?
That's in the general fund,
That
and it
goes to
can
gen-
only be used for certain things.
That's what I thought, okay,
I sent you guys an email out
Yeah,
about
you
that
did.
today.
yeah.
Oh, haven't read it,
What's that?
haven't read it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah,
It's because you're
there's
about talking to the
rules
people.
on it.
Yes, it was.
I didn't want me to come back and say, we can't use that, so, yeah.
And see, a lot of people don't, like, they're like, well, my water bill is expensive, where's that money? Well, you know, portion of it goes strictly to the water fund, that can
Right.
only be used towards water. A lot of people don't understand. Well, I pay a water and sewer bill, yeah, you do,
Yeah,
but those
But-
can only go towards those type of
Right.
things, so.
yeah.
We get that a lot in our office.
Yeah, I bet.
You have anything you want to close with?
Oh, I'm good. It's all yours.
So with that in mind, I think I would have gleaned from our conversation here is that we do have a propensity to want to pursue this.
Yes.
I will take what we've gleaned from this conversation, draft it into a memorandum that I will then distribute for the next council meeting. And then we can bring it up for discussion and agree that we can officially make a decision on that we want to move forward on this or not. And then I'll try and incorporate within that at least a rough articulation of what the civic engagement would look like leading up through now till the November ballot timeframe, if approved.
Are you guys wanting to do like a combined pit snack? I don't know, Kyle, you're gonna have you have six people now. So I don't know if they would be interested in, I feel like you guys
A
have
work
so
session?
many like ideas, and I feel like collaborating together and try to take some of the workload even off of you to be able to come up with materials, sound bites, stuff like that, and just kind of
Give us a chance to,
brainstorm.
yeah, it's a great idea. Give me, Kyle and I, an opportunity. We'll come back to you with a plan of attack in options where possible. That's great.
Yeah, and we should invite, I mean, that's right in their wheelhouse, and we want their thoughts. I mean, they're gonna have ideas that are great ideas that we can add into the pool of things and carry forward.
And I think they're eligible to help after that
I
August
believe
14th deadline
so, but
to
I
be
can
able to
double
help
check.
with that educational push.
Is sending something out with water bills, does that have to be done before the August?
Well, that's the tricky part. So last time when we did the charter,
Oh, yes.
I actually sent something to the elections division to get it, like a safe harbors, to make sure that it was written in a way where it takes out the neutral part. It has to be like, we're not pushing for a yes, we're not pushing for a no, or whatever. So we have to be strategic with, after we file it with the county. So that's a good question, because I feel like we could probably utilize putting anything in right now, sound bites or anything that, you know, whatever we come up with, for like, let's go, let's do this. And then, once we hit that August 14th date, we'll have to be more strategic.
You have a
So I'll
ballot.
have to prepare that, but
A ballot measure then at that point.
yeah, we're
Right.
ballot measure with the title,
Right,
and then it'll be filed with the county's office, and then I have to make sure that I can send this piece of paper in, and so it's not like pushing for a yes or a no
Right.
vote.
But-
It has to be strategically
But clearly,
written.
yeah, and not
And that's
trying.
after the August 14th date, so I want to be clear about that.
Who writes the paragraphs in the voter pamphlets they get?
Oh, the county doesn't put out a voter pamphlet, that's why we switched to the water and sewer bill last year, and had just one piece of paper that I typed up, sent it and got it approved, And then we sent it to the water department and they stuffed them in the bills.
So am I wrong? So in the past, because I mean, I just remember that we always pick up the pamphlet, we read through things, and it's nice because there's explanations about whatever and
Pros and
what it
cons,
actually
right.
means and breaks down into. So that doesn't happen for local measures then, is that what I'm hearing? Okay.
That's correct.
That's unfortunate, because I
Yeah.
think that's a really
Helpful.
valuable resource and all in one spot. I think a lot of people
Yeah.
look through that as they're filling out their ballots.
Yeah, I
Is
think
there,
that
is
comes
there
from the county.
legalities that keeps us from being able to do it?
It's all the county, it's county control,
Oh, okay.
it's county pamphlet. I don't know if they just don't spend their
I'll talk to
funds.
them and see if they'll allow us to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's an option, but I feel like there have been measures there in the past that kind of break it into plain language. Like, this is what this means. And I think especially if we were to decide to proceed with conditions in place about what would happen if it was paired with a state gas or something, I think that would be really valuable to have explained, you know. and so
Well,
I
that's
don't
the
know.
strategic part, where if it was even in the pamphlet,
Right.
it has to be written in a certain way with
Right, it's gotta be
explanatory
neutral.
statement. Yes,
Right.
neutral.
But I think like that's a
That's
totally
why
neutral
we-
statement to say, you know, if voted, you know, this has conditions that
But
say
doesn't-
if this happens,
Don't
this,
you
right?
use
It's not saying
Wyatt for
yes or no,
that,
it's just
to
saying
get us the
simple
official?
facts.
Yeah, the ballot title and
The ballot title
an
goes through
explanatory
our
statement.
attorney, remember?
That is correct.
Right.
But yeah, it was my understanding when we asked about the pamphlet last time,
Okay.
the 2024, when we did the charter referendum, they told me that they don't put out, the county does not produce a pamphlet.
Okay.
So it's not going to be listed. It's
Okay.
county controlled. That's why we did it the way we did it.
So they
you
won't
guys-
send it out with the ballots even?
No,
sheet or
no, you
anything?
just,
Would they? If-
I think I asked, and I can't remember if there was gonna be a cost, but I can double check on that
Because then
again.
there might be a cost, but it might be worth it. to have-
Yeah,
cannot
because
be
I
put
think
in the
we had asked
ballot.
that before.
Pardon?
You can't have an information sheet put in with the ballot. Is that what you're asking? Is that what
Yeah, I
you
was just wondering if you could.
Yeah, I'll have to call.
I
and ask
don't know, I'm just
Lisa.
asking, yeah.
I mean, we want to lead this, we want citizens to be able to choose how they handle this, but I think, like I said before, I want this to be an informed decision, and I think last time it was not an informed decision.
No, it wasn't.
And
Most
so,
people
And they
didn't
just
understand.
learned
yeah, the legwork is all gonna be on that front end for us to say,
Yeah.
we want people to understand fully what this is, the good, the bad, the ugly, the whatever, but
Right.
not to just hear the word tax.
Right.
Right.
And,
Go, no.
yeah, so.
And it wasn't publicized well enough. Many
no,
people
no,
didn't
neither
have a
was the
clue.
council
Well, social
referendum, which
media is
another
so
thing
much
we should do.
bigger than it was 10 years ago, so we have so much that we can do.
Right.
Right. Good.
All right. Well, Madam Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Unless you have anything else
No,
for
I
us,
don't think so. I
I'm
think-
understanding the way forward and more to follow in regards to that.